You're watching Next Pitch, the student-athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Welcome in, Anthony Leverett, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and I am joined for my weekly show with Dusty Hara for your Weekly Sports D&A. Dusty, happy New Year, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I'm still tired. I'm still trying to figure out my bearings on everything. It's been a long week. It's turning around quickly.
What was your travel like? What was that for the Oregon game? We're going to obviously dive into that, but what was the travel component of that like?
It was Wednesday leaving Eugene, getting to Miami, then Thursday morning setting up at Hard Rock Stadium, and then New Year's Eve in Miami is crazy.
Was it crazy?
Yeah. There's right outside of the hotel that the Orange Bowl puts the teams up in, there's two different hotels, and right outside of the hotel that Oregon was staying in was the New Year's Eve celebration where they do the ball drop. But there was also a concert that was headlined by Flo Rida and Marshmello.
Oh, fun.
It was fun until you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the stadium the next day. And we were maybe, I could see the stage, maybe a quarter of a mile from the stage. And I was 20 floors up, and I heard every word of that concert. It was incredibly loud. They had thousands of porta potties that they brought in. It was shoulder to shoulder down below. It was really cool scene. They had an incredible fireworks show that woke me up from a dead sleep, and it sounded like I was in a war zone. It was nuts. And then getting there on Wednesday, my body clock still had not adjusted to or I guess we left on Tuesday, and because the game was on Thursday, my body clock had not adjusted to what Eastern time zone was. So we woke up essentially at 2 a.m. Pacific time, and it was go time. And it was a long day there and back. And then right when the game's over, you get on a plane and you fly back. And then I drove back up to Portland after I got home at 3 a.m. So woke up at 2 a.m., got home at 3 a.m.
In 25 hours.
25 hours.
25-hour trip.
Yeah. Well,
I did that to Berlin
one time. It was 2 days. I think I was in Miami for one full day.
So it was a 47-hour or 49-hour trip.
Yeah, but 25 hours awake on New Year's Day was long day, baby.
Man, I did the stupidest thing one of the two dumbest things I've ever done in my life was I went to watch a kid play that was going to make a decision. And I woke up in the morning, flew to Frankfurt, drove from the airport to Wiesbaden, spent 3 hours with the family, drove back to the airport, and flew home. I spent more time in the air, way more time in the air. And you want to talk about a body clock problem? It was one of the two dumbest things I've ever done in my entire life. The other one, you want to hear a quick story before we dive into this?
Let's do it.
So home visits are a big part of coaching in the recruiting process, right?
Yep.
Especially in basketball. So I went from Utah to Portland, Oregon, Oregon to Vancouver, Canada, from Vancouver to Anchorage, Alaska to San Francisco to Orange County to Hawaii. Flew from Hawaii back to Salt Lake and was home just long enough to go home, change my bag, and then head back out. Went to Toronto to Berlin back across the freaking world to San Diego to Sacramento to Seattle, and then Seattle home. That was a 14-day trip. And I remember sitting in Seattle in a gym with another 100 coaches and balls bouncing, and just in a feeling like I was in the fetal position internally.
Yeah.
And just please don't talk to me. Nobody, please come talk to me. And that's the shit that you do, chasing kids around. People ask me, "Well, do you miss coaching?" I'm like, "Yeah, I miss coaching. I don't miss that." Yep. That is brutal. So I feel a little sorry for you for your 49-hour trip to Miami. Yep. But there is that's the world of athletics, man. Yeah. It is get on airplanes and see where it takes you.
Everything else was awesome, though. Everything else was great. It was it was really cool to go to Miami. The college football playoff is always something special.
Yeah.
And like you never want to take for granted what the stage is and how cool all those things are. And the Orange Bowl people were awesome. It was a great setup, and the game couldn't have not have gone better for Oregon.
We're going to do that one at the end here today, or at the end of the first segment here. But let's dive right into it. Miami versus Ohio State. And like everyone else on the planet, you and I were wrong. We both thought Ohio State was going to run away with that. It appears that Miami's pretty good.
Yeah, Bain was absolutely incredible. Number 4 for Miami. He was the front seven for Miami was an issue for Ohio State. You saw that.
Don't you think that was kind of the biggest shock to everyone? It certainly was to me, was that Ohio State's offense just couldn't get anything going with all the weapons and talent and NFL guys that they have running around there, that they couldn't get anything going offensively.
And look, the offensive line was the biggest problem for Ohio State. It wasn't Jeremiah Smith. It wasn't Julian Sayin. It was the fact that rest versus rust conversation about the first round bye, it's real.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at over 2 years, 1-7, the teams that get that bye, and Indiana being the only one to get over it. And that, I think, says one to how good and prepared Indiana is for everything. But also those conversations about, is Alabama supposed to be in here? You know, heading into the playoff, I was like, I don't know if Oklahoma is the team that should be in there with their offensive woes. But a lot of people made that comment about Alabama. We saw that Alabama up front just wasn't enough for Indiana, but Cignetti got his guys going. It is incredibly difficult to get up off the mat after that long of a layoff and playing a team that is playoff caliber and worthy, that did not have nearly as long as of a rest as you did.
Yeah.
And so that is huge. And you saw that with Ohio State, and where it shows the most is on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because that is a rhythm and continuity position group where all 5 of those guys need to be on the same page. And it takes a long time for them to get going. What was impressive to me was that Miami in the second half, even when Ohio State did start figuring some things out, Miami never took their foot off the gas, and it seemed like they got better as that game went on.
And they clearly got dudes.
They got dudes. They got athletes. Mario Cristobal knows how to recruit. He knows how to build a roster. We saw that in Oregon before he left. They were on the trajectory, an upward swing, and Lanning obviously has taken them to incredible heights as well. But Mario Cristobal knows how to build a roster.
Yeah.
He does a phenomenal job of recruiting, and their defensive coordinator is one of the best. He was a guy that has kind of worked his way up. Just a handful of years ago, he was at James Madison as well. And that kind of says everything you need to know about how good their coaches are, from head coaches right on down to their assistants and everywhere they've been.
Alabama, Indiana. Holy cow. Can we stop now with maybe Indiana isn't as good as the SEC, and that the SEC is the dominant conference? And I'm telling you, that was an absolute beatdown. I watched most of that game. I turned it off at the end because it got boring just watching Indiana beat the pants off of Alabama. It was a pretty remarkable show.
I mean, the elements, it was a Rose Bowl with rain, which was a weird thing to see. Like, it was a downpour prior to the game. And then Indiana took the field. And this is the thing with Indiana, is that they are so talented that Kurt Cignetti does an amazing job of talent evaluation, where they are bucking the trend of any profile of a national title team with the way that their roster is built, with a bunch of 3-star guys, and they don't have the elite talent, quote unquote. He is the ultimate find a role and do your job as well as you possibly can. It's the Bill Belichick and how he built those New England Patriots rosters.
Great analogy.
For so long, is you may not be able to do everything well, and that's what everybody's looking for. And those players are great to have. But what we ask you to do, as long as you are elite at that small thing, we can win a lot of football games. And you see that with this Indiana team. And Alabama could not run the ball heading into it. We knew that. That was their biggest bugaboo. If you go into a game one-handed against Indiana, they will beat the hell out of you.
And they did.
Yeah. And that was absolutely it. They are too good in the secondary. And when they don't have the threat of running the football, good night. Game's over.
Well, and Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner and everybody's number 1 draft pick, was 14 for 16. I think the biggest obviously that's a high level completion rate, but he only had to attempt 16 passes for them to win 38-3. They are efficient and well oiled.
And they have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback on a team that is not predicated on throwing the football.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. And I love that Coogan, the offensive lineman, won the offensive player of the game for the Rose Bowl. First time that's ever happened. But it's deserving. This Indiana team, they run the ball to throw it. And Fernando Mendoza is Heisman Trophy worthy through and through, because I hate the term game manager, because I think that's actually a compliment to quarterbacks. That
should be
is tilted as a negative. He is the ultimate game manager, where he organizes everything to the nth degree. He gets his guys in the right spot, and he knows when the numbers are going to be there to run the football. He will check them into the right play when they need to throw the football. But it makes your job a hell of a lot easier when you are in third and short, and that's where they thrive. They convert 56% of their third downs, and it's because first and second down, they run the ball so effectively. Yeah. They're never in a bad spot, and that is a credit to Fernando Mendoza, their offensive line, and then Black and Hemby, their two running backs, are incredible. Those two guys are downhill. They've got speed, they've got pop, but when they see a hole, they commit to it, and they take the yards that are there. They're not asked to bust the big one. They're asked to get us in third and manageable, and we will win on third down. And they do. Time and time again. In Alabama had no answer.
No answer. It looked like JV playing varsity. It was a different level, and I think it was obviously Indiana, clearly the best team in the Big Ten over the course of the season so far. We'll talk about that Oregon-Indiana matchup here in a minute. But they were clearly both on the scoreboard and on the eye test the better team, and it was not close.
No, and they know how to be ready and get ready for big games and big matchups, and it wasn't more apparent than that. I mean, the preparation that they had and the time that they had to prepare for Alabama, it paid off. And Indiana they aren't the uber talented juggernaut, but what they are is a juggernaut nonetheless. It's not like that LSU team in 2019 or those Alabama teams that just ran away with national titles from a talent standpoint of just, hey, that guy's an NFL guy, that guy's an NFL guy. What they are is a traditional college football team that they are as good as any team that has played the game of college football in a long time.
That's it. It's crazy. They're a traditional college football team built very untraditionally, and how they got him there.
No doubt.
And I think the best compliment you can give a coach, I know the best compliment that anyone ever gave me would be that your product on the field, the sum of your whole is better than some of your parts. So some of your parts, it makes your whole better. Like that they are clearly that, not having maybe some of the high level talent that everybody else has, but he's got them playing as a unit better than anybody else.
And that is the traditional college football. I think like those Miami teams and then the USC teams in the early 2000s, they kind of reframed everybody's mind as to what a championship caliber team looks like. And what that was all the NFL talent.
Yeah.
Before that, though, this is how teams were built, is we are going to find a collection of guys that do a lot of little things really well, but they do one thing exceptionally. In that one thing they do exceptionally, it may not translate to the National Football League.
Yeah.
But if you have 11 of them on each side of the ball that do one thing exceptionally and a bunch of things really good, we are going to beat the hell out of you, and we are going to win.
That's cool.
And it's
fun to watch.
They are the sum of all of their parts, and it is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
But from those Miami teams that had, like Ray Lewis and Sean Taylor, and they were just loaded to the gills.
Sean Taylor, he was a player, man.
They go from there on. It was the team with the most NFL talent wins, and it has. In the modern era of college football, Kirk Cignetti said, "You know what? I'm going to go back to like 1993, and I'm going to build a championship team." Or you go to like those Nebraska teams with Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
They're the same way, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to build our team this way, where they have NFL guys. I don't want people to think that they don't have NFL guys.
They have talent on that roster.
They do.
Yeah.
But it's not like they have 6 on each side of the football.
Yeah.
They've got 2 on each side of the football. And from there, you go, everybody else is going to be really damn solid, and they're going to be really good, and we're going to win as many games as we possibly can.
Next game that I'm really enjoying this for the players. I don't often find myself. I love watching, but I don't get emotionally connected to sports very often. Having coached my own team, it's hard to connect to other teams. It's a weird thing. But I love this Ole Miss team. I love the story. I love, and I'm not anti Lane Kiffin in any way, shape, or form. But that both things can be true. You can like Lane Kiffin, and I think he's a good football coach, and still feel bad for the kids that are going through the experience. No need to feel bad for them. They have figured out, and I honestly thought, they lost their best football coach that was on that roster or that was on that staff, and that they were going to struggle to be able to compete. Holy cow, was I wrong? And I think everybody else was wrong too. They are playing at a high level.
It's almost as if the burden of expectation not being there has helped them.
Yeah.
Like the conversation around Ole Miss isn't like any of these other teams, where it's not like people are saying this team isn't talented enough to win, and that's why nobody's giving them a chance. It is the team is talented enough, but their coach left.
Yeah.
And so in the building, you can have the rallying cry of, hey, he left us high and dry right in the middle of a playoff season, and nobody thinks you guys can win. And so none of the pressure that comes onto a team and is heaped upon a team in a playoff run like this is on this Ole Miss team. They're able to play loose and free because the expectation is for them not to win.
Yeah.
The expectation is that they lose. And so you're seeing a team that absolutely is playing like they don't give a rip because they don't. And you see so many teams tighten up in these situations. This Ole Miss team doesn't have to do that. And you're seeing it. And they're playing. I did not expect a shootout, and I did not expect Trinidad Chambliss to just be running around and throwing the ball down the field blindly and finding wide open receivers like he is. He has been outstanding.
He completed 13 straight passes at one point, and they weren't like they were on the money. That dude is good. That I feel bad for all of Division II right now. I don't know how many kids are entering the portal because of what they're seeing Trinidad able to do, but he has got to be an inspiration for all those guys that are, maybe didn't start out in the SEC and or the Big Ten or one of those big conferences. He is a special kid.
He is. And to watch him play the way he did against one thing that Georgia is going to be is discipline. And they are going to stay in their places. They're going to be in the right spot. They are not going to get over leveraged. But when you have an athlete like Trinidad Chambliss, good luck, because he's going to create enough time. He is going to create enough time. And you're sitting there thinking you're doing the right thing, but he leverages you into the bad spot. And it's a dangerous game. It's a tough game to play. But that's why Johnny Manziel, he has a little bit of that Johnny Manziel to his game, not the person.
No.
Not off the field. But he has that to his game where everything is so structured and, hey, we're doing the right thing, but he's just, how is he doing this? That is Trinidad Chambliss, and that's the most fun to watch because it's a guy who at times is freelancing, but also knows how to play within the context of the offense and pick you apart.
Well, let's end this segment with the game that you did, Oregon, Texas Tech. You were sideline for this. Was it what you expected? I know it kind of played out that Texas Tech speed was good and they're really good defensively, and I think that showed up. But 23-0, that was a bit of a surprise. And watching it, from my couch, I was just kind of surprised by how bad Texas Tech's offense looked. And I know they had the bye and the long layoff, but I think a lot of that had to do with Oregon, too, being a pretty good football team.
You saw the front for Oregon came to life. And it was not just Tatum Tuioti. It wasn't just Bear Alexander and Amari Washington. Mateo Uyunglele came to life. That was one of the more incredible plays you'll ever see, where he strip sacks and pins the ball to the back.
It's an unbelievable play
and goes the other way. I mean,
unbelievable play.
And he's capable of that.
Yeah.
But he woke up and he was a disruptor in that game. Blake Purchase had a sack in that game where you saw the depth really start to shine. And there's a boomer bust nature that we talked about of this Texas Tech offense, in that they have a ton of explosives on the season. They were number 2 nationally in plays of 20 yards or more. Oregon was number 1, and that was going to be like, something's got to give here. Oregon stymied that boom opportunity because when Texas Tech could not run the football, they could not create enough time to have the explosive plays develop downfield. And Brandon Finney Jr. played one of the most incredible games you will ever see a true freshman corner play in college football. 3 turnovers in that game, 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. He was all over the field, and the back end has matured for Oregon's defense because Ife Obadegu, the other corner opposite Finney, is a redshirt freshman. Those 2 guys have come a long way, but what you saw was they made Texas Tech feel uncomfortable up front. In the back end, in Brandon Finney Jr., he was the guy who reaped the benefits of it.
Is he as mature as he looks on the field? Like, he didn't even change expression when he made those plays. It's like, I'm supposed to be here. I'm not arrogant about it, but like, just a confidence about that kid that is really, really impressive. And it jumps off the TV screen when you're watching it.
Yeah, he was my pregame interview this past week, and I sat down with him and just was talking to him, and we were talking about the growth and development of his game this year. And he said the biggest strides that he made was mentally and figuring out, how to watch film, how to break down an opponent, how you can create that edge. And you saw it with both of his interceptions. One, he had like a shuffle slide technique where he read the quarterback and he jumped the route, picked it off. And it was as beautiful as a play recognition as you'll see. And then the interception that he had in the end zone where he high pointed it, he was in the flat as the flat defender. And that's film study.
Yeah.
That's play recognition, peeling off of the flat and going and getting that ball in the corner of the end zone. He is really smart, but it was a comment that he made after the game. He was interviewed. I think it was ESPN was interviewing him after the game. And he said, you get out what you put in. Even if I didn't have the season I'm having right now, I'd be putting in the same work. I'm not expecting any outcome. I do it just to build confidence. That is maturity through and through.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that comment, but I just watching the way he carries himself on that field. And after he made those plays, some guys, I won't use any names, but even on that team, right? Not everybody reacts the same way in those pressure-packed moments. He was like, I'm supposed to be here. Like, I've done this before. Yep. I'm going to do it again, and I'm not going anywhere. He just jumps off the TV screen as someone who's going to be playing for a long time.
And that was another thing that he said was, we talked about, hey, like, you're from Maryland, like, you're a long way from home. Like, what was that like having, Christmas away from the family? And he just matter-of-factly said, yeah, I came here knowing that would be the case. Like, the expectation is that I'm not going to be home for Christmas. I'm not going to be home for New Year's. Then they're going to be, a country apart from us. That was the expectation coming here. He's got an incredible head on his shoulders. He is really high football IQ, and his measurables are incredible too.
Yeah, he's good, and that team is good. We're going to talk about them going forward here in a minute. All right, man. Let's preview what's coming. We've got the Fiesta Bowl. Let's start with that one. We've got Ole Miss taking on. God, my brain just. Miami, the Hurricanes. Jesus, yeah. I've been forgetting about them all year long. The ACC, I've been down on the program. Miami and Ole Miss. What do you expect to see? Do you think that Ole Miss comes back down to earth here a little bit? I mean, now that you watch Miami play in this environment, clearly they have players. They're playing well. And do you think that Ole Miss has a chance, or are we going to write them off again?
I do think Ole Miss has a chance. And like, this is the game I don't know what to expect because both of these teams have had their flaws throughout the course of the season. If you look from a talent standpoint, you give the edge to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is super talented,
especially on the offensive side of the ball, man. Yeah. Like the dudes everywhere.
But Miami, you look at it and they have playmakers everywhere.
Yeah.
On both sides of the football. Like, this is a game where expect the unexpected. If Miami wins this game, they're going to win it like they did against Ohio State, because that is the nature of Mario Cristobal. His nature is to drag a team into deep water and just be like, it's not going to be pretty. This is going to be ugly. And that's where he is comfortable. We talk often about the in-game mismanagement of that Mario Cristobal has in tight games and close situations. Well, against Ohio State, his defense scores a touchdown. on jumping a screen route that I don't know why you have Jeremiah Smith as the point on a screen against a linebacker, but that happened. But you had their defense scored, their offense was just kind of, we're going to chew up as much clock as we can, and we're going to white knuckle this thing. If you do that against Ole Miss is going to make you pay.
Yeah.
They have the playmakers to do it. There's so much distraction around both of these teams right now because for Ole Miss, it's everything we already talked about.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin being gone. Now there's like this pull of are the coaches that are going to LSU going to be pulled more towards LSU this week, which would be if Lane Kiffin wants to be the most hated man in Mississippi if he wasn't already. He's gonna do it if he takes these coaches away during this playoff run. You have that whole thing going on. But for Miami, think of this. They're one win away from playing in a national championship game in their home stadium.
Yeah.
And that is, all the pressure of you go home and there's pressure on all these student athletes and coaches, right? To win and get to the national championship game. But for them, it's like come back home and playing the national title in your home stadium.
Yeah.
That is another layer that that is something that I don't think people are giving enough credit or credence to, but that is a massive weight on the shoulder of everybody playing in Miami.
And you talk about this all the time as we've done this. It's good versus good, right? Miami's offense versus, or Ole Miss's offense versus Miami's defense. It's going to be fascinating to see. I haven't watched Trinidad Chambliss now. I don't know that I could bet against that kid. He is special, and it seems the bigger the moment, the better he seems to play. He kind of has that it factor that it's hard to quantify it, but you know it when you see it.
Yep.
And this obviously is as big a moment as he's going to have unless they win again on Thursday. Are they Thursday?
They're Thursday.
Thursday night game. They win on Thursday. He's going to have a bigger moment, but this is certainly the biggest one of his life.
No doubt about it. And every single test that he has been given, he's passed.
Yeah.
He's passed with flying colors. It's so fun to watch him, and to watch him play you get that Johnny Manziel, you have to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow, you have to turn it on because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Well, he is special. It's going to be fun to watch. All right, your game. We've got a rematch from earlier in the season. I feel like Oregon has really, really played better football since then, but have they played better football, or have they just not played as good a team as Indiana? And Indiana makes everybody look like that. And Oregon played them as tough as anybody has. What are you expecting to see from that in the Fiesta Bowl?
In the Peach Bowl,
excuse me.
Boy.
Have you been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium before?
Yeah, for Dan Lanning's first game as the head coach at Oregon.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Georgia
that's
lost 49-3.
Yeah.
And it was, boy, that was an adventure. And everybody had their opinions coming out of that, but I think he's turned out to be pretty good.
It's worked out all right.
Both of these teams have changed so much since the meeting on October 18th. In that
feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but Oregon's at that point, that was the sixth game that Oregon's true freshman and redshirt freshman corner had played. The sixth game ever.
They're better now.
They are in the back end of Oregon's defense has gotten exponentially better.
Yeah.
I mean, they are playing at a different level. And from that game on, we saw so many 5-yard out routes, and Oregon was playing like a soft man against them. And Indiana just kind of picked them apart. And Fernando Mendoza was like, okay, if you want to play me in man a majority of the time, I think it was like 70% man coverage from Oregon. Oregon, from that point on, they went 3 consecutive weeks where they were in press man and they were playing tight. And they said, all right, the young bucks have got to learn and they got to figure this out. And boy, have they.
Yeah.
But we've seen also a progression on the defensive front too, where Bear Alexander really woke up after that game and has been an incredible asset for Oregon in the interior of the defense. I think offensively, Oregon was forced to change due to injury in how they attack. Will Stein, to that point, was predominantly 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end, 4 wide receivers. When Gary Bryant Jr., DeCorian Moore get hurt, we saw a transition where Oregon is still conceptually the same offense, but doing it with 2 tight ends, 2 backs, 3 tight ends, 1 back. We saw so many different personnel groupings, and Oregon was forced to adjust. And
those injuries really helped them grow as an offense.
100%.
They can eliminate out of limits.
Because Jamari Johnson, the tight end, he was barely playing.
Yeah.
Well, he was forced to start playing, and now he is one of the more reliable receivers that this Oregon team has. Well, Gary Bryant Jr., DeCorian Moore are healthy now. Malik Benson and Jeremiah McClellan both were forced into roles that they had to step up and be the primary receivers on the outside.
So they have basically 4 number ones now.
They grew tremendously.
Yeah.
And so Oregon's offense is completely different because it forced Will Stein to be comfortable being uncomfortable calling plays. And I go back to all of the things that made that first game really difficult for Dante Moore, where the simulated pressures, we've heard this over and over and over again, where Indiana shows 6 and they only bring 4. So 2 guys are dropping and you don't know which 2 are dropping or where they're going to go. That was hard on Dante Moore. That was also hard on the offensive line, because when they bring all those guys up to the line of scrimmage, that changes your blocking scheme in the run game. It changes your pass protection dramatically. Every single opponent after that Indiana game tried exactly what they had success doing. They weren't able to do it. Oregon has become more comfortable going against it. They have not played a team that is as good as simulated pressure as Indiana is, or a defense that is anywhere close to as good as Indiana's defense. But that was the first time they saw it. They've seen it every game since. So that's a little bit different as well. And then Dante Moore said it after that game, like, I got into my own head in that game, and he had to rethink and reframe mentally, not letting the previous play affect the next one. And against Texas Tech, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me from the Orange Bowl, was when negative plays happen against a great defense, Dante Moore bounced back with an incredible play. There's a reason why Oregon went for it 8 times on 4th down.
That's crazy.
It was because on 2nd down, there was a penalty or a sack or a negative play. But 3rd down, Dante Moore was able to get them back into a manageable situation where they were able to go for it on 4th down and a 4th and short. That is dramatically different. Now, again, the whole defense is better. Texas Tech's front 7, their defensive line is the best defensive line I've seen all season long. But the second best defensive line I've seen is Indiana's, and their secondary is exponentially better than Texas Tech's is. That is the challenge that Oregon's facing.
All right, so national championship game prediction. Who are we going to see?
I'm not going to go against Oregon.
So you're going to pick Oregon.
I'm going to pick Oregon.
And who's Oregon playing in the championship game?
Miami.
You're going to pick Miami. I'm going to go Ole Miss, just because I feel almost emotionally connected to them now, having watched them. I've been rooting for them. And Trinidad has won me over, man. He is must-see TV. Either way, it is going to be fun to watch.
No doubt about it. I don't think there's any wrong picks here.
Oh, well, someone's going to be wrong.
They are all 4 of these teams are worthy. They're deserving, and they are the epitome of what modern college football is, in that they've built through the portal, they've built with NIL, they have done it in dramatically different ways. All 4 have done it in different ways, but they are the pillars of what everybody, Lane Kiffin dubbed himself the Portal King. Mario Cristobal down in Miami was like, the U is back. We're going to get the U. The Michael Irvin's back on the sideline barking like a dog and taking his belt off and beating the water coolers with it. Right? Dan Lanning in Oregon was, we are going to build through high school recruiting, and we're going to become a dominant high school recruiter, but we are going to pepper throughout with our transfer portal guys that are going to be impact players for us. And then Indiana and Kurt Cignetti was, screw it. We're just going to find a bunch of guys.
Blow the whole thing up.
We're going to find a bunch of guys that can just do one thing really good. But they've all done it through the portal, and they've all done it with NIL, and they've done it in different ways. It's been really interesting to see. And that's why when you say college football is broken, these 4 programs found a way for Miami rise from the ashes, and for the other 3 to get to places that they've never been before.
Well, people who think that college football is broken haven't seen the Nielsen ratings for these games. They're more watched than ever. And you throw a hand grenade into a system that's been around for over 40 years, you're going to have some growing pains, man. But I think the big winner in this year has been the committee too, of being validated for Miami doing what they're doing. And I think all four of these teams, they're so unique and different in how they play and in the styles. I think it's going to be a fascinating watch, and very much looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm in.
All right, man. Well, you're in. Because,
I'm in. I'll be there.
You're in. Yeah.
I'll be in Atlanta.
All right. Let's talk about the NFL. We've got, speaking of playoffs, it's set. We've got Denver is the number 1 seed, which is pretty remarkable on the in the AFC, and then the Seahawks, man, going into San Francisco and winning an ugly one. I mean, all wins are pretty, but they that was some work to get that done. And then the rest of the field, it's some newcomers, man. It's gonna be a ton of fun. But I want to start with the game that ended last night, and I feel like that ended the season last night, and I feel like it was just a microcosm of what the NFL is. The two teams that those guys competed so freaking hard, but it came for 60 minutes. It came down to a missed field goal that, if made, would have come down to a missed extra point.
Yeah.
Right. It's just such a razor thin margin. And for as much shit as Aaron Rodgers gets and is brought on himself, man, did he show up in the biggest moment in Pittsburgh's season to lead that team to win. I'm happy for him and Coach Tomlin and getting that thing done.
I mean, for two teams that just struggled to move the ball for large chunks of the game, when the rubber met the road and it was winning time, both teams made plays. And like we talked about the missed field goal for Baltimore. Well, I don't know how Lamar Jackson does a Houdini and
how he got out of that is unbelievable.
Finds Zay Flowers, and Zay Flowers scores a touchdown. It gets negated by a penalty. They're into a 4th and 7, and he finds Isaiah Likely for a huge first down to set up that field goal attempt. The kicker's been great all season long.
Money.
And loop, and then boom, it goes wide right.
He chunked it. Did you see the replay where he chunked it?
It is. I've done it on the golf course so many times, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just feel bad. But that was quintessential AFC North football.
Yeah.
It is what that division's always been built on.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun game. And it sucks that anybody had to lose. But Pittsburgh in as the 4 seed hosting Houston. I mean, I think when you said Denver in the AFC, Seattle in the NFC being the 1 seeds, defense is going to be the story of this NFL postseason. It's not about Patrick Mahomes. It's not about, Tom Brady and Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford, really, or Josh Allen for that matter. It is which defenses are going to be able to carry you the most. Because if you look at it, whether it's Denver, Seattle, New England, Chicago, Houston, their defenses are what carry them. And that is this isn't the quarterback show this year. It is team football this year, and it was a wonky year in the NFL. There's a lot of names that we're used to seeing that just aren't going to be there, whether it is Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. But this is going to be a fun year for these franchises that are there in a new territory to kind of grasp and claim their stake in the NFC.
I think
AFC and NFC.
I think more than any other time on both sides, the home field advantage matters so much to Seattle because of that environment, and then obviously Denver's home field advantage with the elevation and that place gets rocking too. I think more than any other time, you got two teams on both sides there that home field advantage means as much or more to them than anybody else that could have gotten it.
I mean, you want to talk about shit weather games. You got Denver, Boston, Massachusetts as the 2 seed in the AFC. Then you have Seattle as the 1 seed in the NFC and Chicago as the 2 seed. We're going to have some snow football. I'm here for it. You're going to have bad weather, driving rain, wind. It's going to be ugly. And that to me I love that about football. I love that about playoff football. The only one that I can't get behind is Jacksonville and LA hosting games. I can't do it.
How come?
I don't like good weather in playoff football.
I've seen you down on the sideline in bad weather.
Yeah.
You actually like that?
I don't like being there, but I think there's something about playoff football where I love the elements. I hate the idea that every stadium in the NFL should be domed. I disagree with that. I think elements are a part of the game, and it brings back to what a home field advantage actually is.
Yeah.
A home field advantage is we're used to this and you're not.
Yeah.
And I think that like Miami has fallen victim to this in that they can't play in cold weather games late in the year. Yeah. Well, let's go. That's part of football though.
It is part of football. I think the other big story in these playoffs that you talk about the defense and the weather, but is the young quarterback, right? You mentioned the ones that aren't going to be there, but you've got, the Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Drake May, who am I?
Caleb Williams,
Bryce Young. How about him resurrecting what everybody thought was going to be the end for him? And he hasn't done it with like some of the flash and flare that some of the other guys have, but he won a division, man. Yeah. Like it's hard to win a game, much less a division. He won a division.
We talked about this before in that like Tampa looked like a team that could win a Super Bowl, but then you also go, what?
Yeah.
They're not even a playoff team. Well, they're not a playoff team. And I think the main reason why is because of the two guys coaching in Carolina and Jacksonville, which are in the playoffs. Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator last year in Tampa. He's now with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. And you've seen how much we've seen Trevor Lawrence thrive and develop.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Canales was the old Blazers assistant, former interim coach. Dave Canales in Carolina has done the same thing with Bryce Young. And he was the OC in Tampa before Liam Cohen was. And those two guys are incredible offensive minds, but it's the connection that they have with the quarterbacks. And so much of coaching is simplifying something complex to where anybody can learn it and understand it. And those two guys are incredible at doing just that.
Yeah, CJ Stroud, another one that you kind of had a great, rookie season, kind of regressed a little bit, but now, they've won 8 or 9 in a row heading into the playoffs here. Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun to watch. And some of the matchups, good versus other teams good, right? Like it's going to be fun to watch.
Outside of Matthew Stafford or Aaron Rodgers winning Super Bowl, there will be a quarterback that completely changes the way the NFL thinks of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. That's 2 out of the 14 quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl in this field right now.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. The depth of the league is pretty remarkable. And what the Chiefs did over the court is amazing, right? Yeah. But they're not there. And so this is a completely different feeling.
I guess Jalen Hurts too. Jalen Hurts has Super Bowl.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. But another young guy that it's been through a ton of ups and downs. God, their season is like they're soap opera every single day. But it is going to be a ton of fun to watch.
No doubt about it. I'm pumped for it. The NFL playoffs, they're the gift that keeps on giving, and the fact that we got Thursday Fiesta Bowl, Friday Peach Bowl, Saturday playoff games, Sunday playoff games. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. This is the most meaningful football that you will see. I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not drinking in 26 because I would be really, really hungover by the end of that had I been. But it is, by the way, I'm dry in 26.
Hey,
so
let's go.
I do this every now and again. Just take a full year to get myself healthy. You want to join me?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tons of football to watch and a ton to talk about next week. Before we wrap up, what's your pop question of the week for me?
Look, this one comes because behind the curtain, you got the phone call before the show. Okay?
Yes, I did.
And your lovely wife has a flat tire.
Yes.
Which is one of the more infuriating things.
Yes.
Okay. Which of life's inconveniences that are and in the grand scheme, everybody's safe, everyth's fine.
Yeah.
Which of the of life's small inconveniences bother you the most?
Wow. I think it's twofold because one is so just fresh, flat tires.
Mm-hmm.
We live in an area where there's a massive amount of construction going on, new homes being built, and we've had 9 or 10 flat tires in the last couple of years. The Les Schwab, bless their hearts, they do such a fantastic job with that. But I think the one that I go back to, and I don't know if it's life's inconvenience, but every time I traveled, something seemed to go wrong. And I can list, and I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the first time I left Utah on a recruiting trip after my family had moved over there. There was a thunder and lightning storm, and the power's out completely. And my daughter's a baby. My wife's not breastfeeding; she's feeding, having to warm up bottles, and couldn't get the bottle warmed up. And Caden, my daughter, wouldn't take a cold bottle. She goes out to a telephone pole. And at the bottom of telephone poles, quite often there is plugins. So across the street, she's down on the ground with a little warmer thing to warm up the milk so that
in the thunder and lightning.
And I'm hearing this as God knows where I am. I have no idea, but somewhere while I'm traveling. And that is the inconvenience that over the course of my life has driven me the craziest. Is literally almost every single time I traveled, something would happen, something would break, something would go wrong, someone would get sick. And that's the part I eliminated all of that when I quit coaching. So that, to me, that's the one that sticks with me the most.
We had fire alarms in our house going off last night for no reason. No, I don't know why. I just had to. It's like, of course, it was last night, where it's like at midnight.
Oh, yeah.
The kids are going back to school. We put them to bed early because it was like, you know what? They got school tomorrow. And midnight, fire alarm goes off. I go and I look and turn it off. I go around, do the check. I make sure it's not the carbon monoxide.
Is it your smoke detectors?
Yeah. And I'm going, okay, what is going on? Everything's fine. 10 minutes later, goes off again. I'm like, what? It drove me crazy. I just finally unplugged the whole thing. And I was like, look, I hope there's not a fire in my son's room. There's just something wrong with it. Now I got to figure that out today.
Yeah. The little things in life, but you know what? It's good to be alive.
Yeah, it is.
Every day I try to approach life with every day above ground is a good day. But those inconveniences, they can certainly throw a wrench in your giddy up,
and they can be big ones.
All right, man. Well, safe travels to you. When do you guys take off?
Wednesday
to Atlanta. Same deal. Flying back as soon as the game's over.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, we'll be watching and looking forward to talking to you next week about all of it, man. Tons of water to go under the bridge here in the next in the football bridge here over the next week or so.
Let's go. I'm excited for it.
Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you.